Hey everyone, Persia here, and I am back with Jordan. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, glad to be back. Glad to be talking about Apex again.
Yes, of course. And like Jordan said, we are back to talk about Apex. Original Kings Canyon and original World's Edge is going to be back in a rotation. I'm pretty excited, but I also have a lot of friends who just picked up the game recently and have no idea what these maps used to look like, which is actually a wild thought to think. So we're gonna hop back and go through the evolution of Kings Canyon all the way from day one, day zero practically, to where we are now. And we have a ton of more lore to talk about too. So we're gonna sprinkle that stuff in as we go through these map changes as well. Let's start from the very beginning. Pre-season. This is basically the version of Kings Canyon that everyone is going to see when Genesis hits. Peaceful for the first and last time, as Jordan's notes say here.
Look, if you have not been following Apex from day one, you're about to find out that Kings Canyon has gone through the ringer. It has been beaten and battered by almost every single new legend who has joined the game. But it was peaceful at the start. It was beautiful. It was lovely. There were leviathans and flyers off in the distance, and everything was kind of basically untouched. And then everything slowly begins to go wrong.
Yeah, slowly but surely, because season one, the wild frontier, Octane joins the games, and as we go into season two, this is where things start to get interesting because we start seeing more town takeovers. People were getting used to the map, but now is when we start to see little changes, things just getting added on, right? Nothing major.
It was wild when there was just this small, tiny little landmark in the corner next to Thunderdome and Skulltown, and it was called West Settlement, and it was basically useless for nothing. And Octane wanted to spice things up, and so he took out that settlement and he replaced it with the Gauntlet, which has now been on Kings Canyon, I think, ever since. It's never gone away.
Battle Charge. This is where we got our first look at Crypto, who definitely added not only a lot of lore to Apex, but added more of how that lore directly affects in-game maps.
Mm-hmm. It's like I remember looking way back, even though the cinematic trailer for season 2 was the first time we saw Crypto, leading up to that moment, I remember there was some random hill or spot on the map where you could find this little computer laptop and it had Crypto symbol on it, and people were like, yo, what does this mean? And people were like, oh, I think it's for a new character. And then we see just the back of this character in this trailer using that laptop with the symbol, and we're like, yo, are we getting two characters at once? It's like, no, we're only getting Wattson. But Crypto still left his mark when he decided to try to hack into the arena and accidentally destroyed the tower that was keeping the Leviathans and the Flyers out, and they destroy a lot of stuff. They destroyed bridges, they destroyed cascades, which were these smallish settlement village type things that were closer to the middle-ish of the map, and a few in the more northern parts. But this also feels like a change that has been kind of there since the very beginning. It's so hard to even think about the fact that there was a time where the cage is now that led to a bridge that led to the tunnels that led to the other side where the crater is now, where Skulltown and Thunderdome used to be. It was a completely different area, and this was the first really major change that Respawn ever did for a map, where it was oh, there used to be an easy way to cross this gap, and now you either have to go into this valley and dodge the Leviathan footsteps, or take this zip line across where people can easily snipe you. Season 2 is where we got our second town takeover, because for whatever reason, the Syndicate or some of the organizers for the Apex games were like, oh, let's just dig right here. And it's like, oh, there are some labs underground, like right here in the middle of Kings Canyon. I totally remember when the Voidwalker event kicked off and I got into a match for the first time that day, and I'm like, there's just a giant wraith portal in the sky.
The number of squads that would drop in that portal every single time, especially if it was close to the dropship. But it was hilarious, right? You would have some people who would go the caustic route. They'd drop in and try to throw a bunch of traps. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll catch some people. You have the Bangalores who go in there and just smoke the entire place, and you have like 30 people just running around in the smoke.
It was wild.
Amazing times.
It was completely wild. But that was also where we got like our next story tease, where there was this secret room in the labs that if you like got to it fast enough and you broke down the door, you could see Crypto actually in the room hacking into like the computers for the Apex games and like getting himself a spot like in the ship that was going to go to some place that at the time we had no idea what it was. It had just this giant skyhook tower, and we're like, oh, that looks really cool. Maybe they're adding a new thing to Kings Canyon. How naive we were. How wrong we were. We'll get into more about that new map in next time around, but man, that was like a crazy change where it's like, yo, Crypto's actually in the game. You can see him right here. And he has so much to answer for blowing up the map.
Season 2 was actually pretty chunky, right? We got more teasers on Crypto. We got more teasers on where the Legends would be heading next, which we would later find out would be World's Edge. We find out more about Wattson, how she is involved with the Apex games and created the ring, etc., etc. Also, Voidwalker.
That was a crazy reveal where we found it's like, yo, Wraith isn't even from this dimension.
Right.
And like just even throwing that out, it's like there's a multiverse in the Titanfall Apex Legends universe.
So much. So we learned a lot about Kings Canyon and about our legends in Season 2. So the next time we saw a major change on Kings Canyon was in Season 5, and it was a doozy. It was a major doozy because Skulltown, probably one of the most polarizing areas on Kings Canyon, was destroyed, just blown off the face of the earth, literally.
New Apex fans, you have no idea, like, the ramifications of what this was. It's like we had been at World's Edge for a few seasons, and even though the new map rotating feature had been added so that we could at least go back to Kings Canyon on occasion, had come in, like, it was still kind of a World's Edge kind of deal for Season 3 and Season 4. So Season 5, it's like, cool, we're coming back to Kings Canyon. It's been so long. We finally get to go to everyone's favorite point of interest, Skulltown. And Respawn just comes in and blows it up. Like, just destroys it. And it was quite the entrance for Loba, Season 5's new character, who had been attempting to kill Revenant, as we had learned over the course of Season 4 for a very long time, and she just kind of comes in and tries to kill him, does a really bad job at it, destroys the entire southernmost corner of Kings Canyon, and kind of flirts her way into the Apex games, which kicks off the first quest. Yeah, the first quest for Apex Legends. That was the whole time we got PvE missions for the first time and last time. I can't wait to see how new players react to Kings Canyon and Genesis. Of course, Salvage won't be there because Salvage was built where Skulltown, South Settlement, and Thunderdome once were. Offshore Rig won't be there. Interstellar Relay will go back to its original relay. The giant capacitor that's basically dominating the entire central part of the map won't be there. Charge towers won't be there because that was a thing that was added in Season 5. The very nice foresty area that's in the middle, it's going to go back to the really burnt out, like really destroyed area it was before. Like, a lot of stuff happened in Season 5. Most of the Kings Canyon that you know today, I think, comes from the Season 5 changes, including when Crypto decided, I want to spy on people around me a little bit more. I'm going to build a town takeover. And so he creates the map room, which for whatever reason, also kind of feels like a landmark that's just been there for a very long time, but really kind of hasn't.
Things seem to slow down a little bit on Kings Canyon changes. It isn't until season 7 that Mirage decides to bring the Mirage Voyage from World's Edge over to Kings Canyon. I honestly feel like the Mirage Voyage deserves its own episode at this point. It's been to nearly every map. Now it's crashed down.
It might, now that you say that.
And it's been hilarious to see, like, Mirage is just trying to have a party and have a good time, and everywhere he goes, everyone's killing his vibe. It's so funny. And then after that, in season 8 is where we start seeing more major changes. So it went on a little bit of a lull, but then boom, season 8 showed up. Mayhem is indeed the name of the season and of all the madness that happened, because this is where Fuse joined the Apex games. Mad Maggie was not happy about that at all, and she had some things to say, or blow up in this case.
Oh my god, blowing up Fuse's ship, and then as it was crashing, just also blowing up the entire top portion of Kings Canyon, which, if I can say personally as an aside, thank God, because as cool as it was that it was like, yo, Respawn's willing to take big risks and destroy Skulltown, when they took out Skulltown, Kings Canyon became way too small. So Respawn's solution to that is let's just destroy the entire northern wall of this map and add a brand new area to it. And so artillery gets blown up, which adds a whole new area, which is Crash Site. Slum Lakes become Spotted Lakes. The Ecological Cleanup and Hazard Outreach is assigned to clean up the mess, which is why there's a bunch of those echo camps and those new observation towers. Caustic kind of starts doing his little, like, psychopathic mumbling. It's like, oh, there's toxin in the water. This is fascinating, interesting. The farm is removed, and explosive holds were added in season 8. Another thing that just hasn't been there since the start. But yo, Caustic. You turned the entire water treatment plant into your own, like, horror house. But, like, with the Caustic treatment add-on, there's the secret room that only Caustic and Wattson could go into, and that leads into the comic where Watson's like, you're gonna try to poison a city, and Caustic's like, yeah, it's for a test. You can't stop me. Watson's like, the hell I can't. I can definitely stop you. And it kind of begins to them reconciling and fixing their father-daughter relationship that was once very cute in season 5 and then went terribly, terribly wrong.
After season 8, we haven't seen too much on Kings Canyon because we've had more of a focus over on Olympus. But that doesn't mean we aren't going to see more. But luckily for anyone who is tuning in that did not see Kings Canyon in its early days, you're going to get a chance to see that and be prepared for the chaos, because original Kings Canyon, I feel, was way more chaotic than what it is now. It took many seasons for it to be refined into its current state. But I'm excited for people to see it, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Everybody else who would also like to see more of these videos, make sure you leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. It lets us know that you enjoy what you're seeing. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you guys next time.
Bye.